Live.
Good morning, everyone, and happy World Oceans Day. My name is Dave Thomas. I'm the Deputy High Commissioner at the British High Commission in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. It's a pleasure to be with you today and to welcome you to our webinar, which is the first webinar in a series being run this week. This one is the introduction to the Blue Hope campaign and the Plastic Detectives Challenge. And I'm joined today by a number of co-panelists. I have Dr. Nagu with us, who is the Secretary General in the Malaysian Ministry of Environment and Water. I have Simon Christopher, who's a marine environmentalist for Timor Blue, joined by his son Jack Christopher, a pupil at the British International School in Kota Kinabalu. We have my colleague Alison Collingridge with us, who's head of the Marketing and Great campaign at the British High Commission in Kuala Lumpur, and her son Archie, who's a pupil at the International School in Park City. So as I said, this webinar is the first in a series which is being run this week. Please do tune in for the official launch of the Blue Hope campaign, which is at 3 p.m. Malaysia time or 8 a.m. UK time. This will feature messages from Sir David Attenborough, the Right Honourable Lord Zach Goldsmith, our UK Minister for the Pacific and Environment, Joe Ruxton, the founder and director of Plastic Oceans UK, and Paul Rose, the explorer and TV presenter. So let's kick things off with this webinar. Malaysia is, of course, one of the 6 countries in the Coral Triangle with a coastline all over its peninsula and in eastern Malaysia, Borneo. So it takes the matter of plastic pollution very seriously. And I'm going to ask Dr. Nagu to set some context for us and tell us a bit about how Malaysia is tackling the problem. Dr. Nagu.
Yeah, good morning, everyone, and thank you, Dave. And happy World Oceans Day 2020. It's a very different Ocean Day this year. Usually Ocean Day will be by the coast doing some beach cleanup, but this year, due to the restrictions that we have, we're doing this webinar just to create more awareness, which is equally very important. I also like to congratulate the British High Com Malaysia for this initiative and this whole Blue Hope and this Plastic Detective campaign, which is a fantastic way to increase awareness among the younger society in Malaysia. Right, Dave. Well, for Malaysia, of course, oceans are really important, having a huge coastline. And you're correct, we are part of one of the 6 Coral Triangle nations. Coral Triangle is this huge area just off Sabah, a whole beautiful marine world, which is always referred to as the Amazon of the marine world. It itself houses about 76% of the world's coral species. That's how rich and diverse that area is. And it supports livelihood for about 120 million people, including folks in Sabah. And it's a huge place for nature-based tourism, giving some receipts about $12 billion a year in terms of tourism. So this area is really important. Putting it in a bigger picture, I mean, the whole ocean is really important. I mean, nearly 3/4 of our planet is water and oceans, and it's so really important. And in past years, the world has been focusing a lot on climate change, has been focusing on biodiversity loss, which are really, really important issues. But one issue that is very important for us to address together is this emergence of mismanaged plastic. I mean, as I speak, every minute, a garbage full of plastic waste is entering the ocean. That is how big this issue is. Plastic augments every other problem. It augments biodiversity loss. It augments climate change. And it augments many other issues related directly to health, environment, and for cost of the economy. Everybody know how the problem of plastic waste is. In terms of health, WWF did a study. If you probably, every one of us probably is consuming around 5 grams of plastic, and to put it into a pictorial kind of context, about a credit card size of plastic every other week. And of course, there's many other ramifications in terms of economy loss, and as well as, of course, direct impact to the environment. Having said that, I mean, this whole issue about plastic came up with many studies putting this region in the spotlight of plastic pollution. And Malaysia wanted to change that whole thing and take concrete actions. And in 2018, we came up with a roadmap, a very clear roadmap until 2030 about addressing plastic issues, especially single-use plastic. We like to put in record that plastic itself is not a big problem. I mean, plastic has been one of the best creations since 1950s it's taken center stage. It became so useful. It's been used in many applications. But I think it says when we mismanage plastic, when it enters the ocean or when it enters the environment, that's where it creates a lot of problem, and we need to address this. So our single-use plastic roadmap, which is towards zero single-use plastic roadmap, clearly defines actions that each and every one of us can take. It is a phased approach because these things takes time. And webinars like this are really important to create that kind of awareness, just not awareness, but what we hope is behavioral change. We need people to really change their behavior and think that every actions they do has an impact on climate, has an impact on the environment, and of course, the bigger climate issues and biodiversity issues. But we realize that government can't do this whole thing together. And here we are thankful to the UK again for introducing us to RAP and also the UK Plastic Pact, which we have replicated here in Malaysia. We launched a soft launch in September last year, and now the pact is growing and we are trying to get things in place. And the Malaysian Plastic Pact, what it tries to do is, we've got this roadmap, but we need to get everyone on board. So this Plastic Pact brings about the private sector, the NGOs, the academia, all in one place to take action on plastic together. It focuses a lot on extended producer responsibility. We are trying to see how we could change the way we design products, how we could increase recycled content into product packaging, how we can increase locally sourced plastic, that's very important, into local product packaging. So all these are really, really very important. Adding to that also, of course, we have augmented all our local domestic enforcement on plastic. We have close to 200 illegal factories on plastic, and also send back shipments, as we all know, on containers that are coming into this country carrying illegal plastic waste. So all these are very, very important. And we cannot amplify even more on this World Oceans Day, why each and every one of us has got this big responsibility on the way we treat our environment, the way we treat our ocean. So I think thank you so much for inviting me to this webinar, because I think it's very important to get the message out there. It's so good to see Archie and Jack, the future leaders who are in this webinar, who is speaking out to reach out to their friends and to the larger community on this whole issue of plastic pollution. Thank you so much. I'll stop there for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nagu. And can I just add, I mean, it's been an absolute pleasure working with you over the last few years on this issue. It's a major priority for the UK government, and you touched on a few issues there. For me, certainly, I know we were shocked when we heard about the illegal shipments of plastic, some of them coming from the UK, and we did everything we could to successfully return those. And we had the visit of the UK Environment Agency out here last year, which helped facilitate that so they could meet their opposite numbers and actually see the problem on the ground. So I was really pleased we managed to achieve that together. And just generally raising awareness. You've talked about the Malaysia Plastics Pact, but it was also great to have, during the visit of Prince Edward here last year, a special royal screening of Sir David Attenborough's Blue Planet 2 and the episode 7, which is the particular episode that deals with plastic pollution. And that was a great way to get the message out through the media, and in fact do that soft launch of the Malaysia Plastics Pact about the problems of plastic pollution. And this week is really an extension of that, almost a virtual extension, you might say, given the trouble we've all had with coping with COVID-19 and the constraints that's put. I know we had ambitions to take the Blue Planet 2 episode out throughout Malaysia and the cinema chain to show, much more of the population the key messages in that episode. But of course, cinemas are shut. So here we are in this fora, which is in many ways equally good. And I'm now going to pass on to Alison to say a bit about the Green is Great Plastics campaign and phase 3, which is us going digital during this COVID-19 crisis.
Thank you, Dave. So I just wanted to explain how this has all come about. So as Dave mentioned, we had the VVIP screening of Blue Planet 2 as kind of phase 1 of our Green is Great Plastics campaign. And then we were able on Commonwealth Day back in March to have a showcase of the Commonwealth Clean Ocean Alliance, which is a policy of trying to bring a number of countries together to protect the oceans. And I think it's recognized that we need international collaboration to help solve this problem. It can't be solved in just one country. We all have to work together. And the plan had been to, again, raise the profile of Green is Great when we were going to be celebrating our Queen's birthday party, which was going to be on World Oceans Day. But unfortunately, because of COVID, all our Queen's birthday parties across the world have had to be cancelled this year, which is a truly unique event. But rather than kind of give up on continuing to promote this important message, I talked to Simon Christopher and a few other partners and friends, and we decided to take it digital. So this is kind of a unique event for the British High Commission. It's been pulled together in record time, and it's only because of the support that we've already received from people such as Simon Christopher, Joe Ruxton, who was the founder and director of Plastic Oceans UK, and Mura Technology, and Jeff Brighty, who both came out to Kuala Lumpur to help us celebrate Commonwealth Day and promote the Commonwealth Clean Oceans Alliance. While Jo was here, she was able to give her presentation at Tenby International School at Setia Park. And, you know, it was amazing to kind of, and quite upsetting to hear the stories that Jo was telling us about how plastic can really damage marine biodiversity. There were some very graphic pictures that were shown to the school children of birds, ocean birds being dissected, and the amount of plastic that were in their small bodies. There was a story of a snapping turtle that had literally grown in two halves because when it was a young hatchling, it got caught in the plastic around the top of a plastic bottle, and it grew with this plastic constricting its body until eventually it was found and could be helped by a vet. So it's really important to be able to take this message forward, and very exciting that, you know, collaboratively we've been able to bring this digital campaign together. Not only the series of webinars this week supported by Asia Dive Expo, but also we've got a Blue Hope website, www.bluhope.org. So with that, I want to pass on to Simon Christopher, who also has been leading the charge and helping make this happen.
Thank you, Alison. Thank you. Well, before I start, I want to say thank you very much to Alison and to Archie and to Tony, because without you, it wouldn't have been possible. You've been an absolute force, your strength through thick and thin. So great to be here. Thank you. Morning, everyone. So we have a virtual campaign, which in light of all the other big events like United Nations Oceans and COP26, it seems that having talked to Alison about doing a one-day World Ocean Day splash in Malaysia, all of a sudden we're talking to the world. It's an amazing situation, the power of technology and the power of story. But what we have here is a real opportunity because unfortunately, because of COVID, unfortunately, all the governments don't have any money to spend except on survival. So what we have is a very raw, very pure story, and it's essentially a collaboration of like-minded people. So we've got a great partnership of people who are committed, and they're doing this not because of funding or money, just because this is such an important story. And I think it's a real testament to what's possible when you've got something so strong in terms of story and the collaboration. So I'd like to thank obviously the British High Commission, for their support from day one. But also ADEX, John Tett and his team. I've known John for 20 years. He's been growing the whole dive and marine environment industry in Asia. And, you know, he has an amazing network now, sort of at least over 500,000 viewers who are all passionate about the ocean. Whenever they have a spare moment, they want to get into the ocean, put a snorkel on or a diving tank and go diving. And so hopefully we've got a large amount of them and the youngsters that want to do the same now. So we've got ADEX, but that's obviously the Asia story, the East. And then in the West, we have another old friend in the form of Graham Gourlay, who again, for the last 20 years I've known. He's really the same as ADEX, but he runs Dive Magazine in the UK, and they have up to 250,000 ardent divers, passionate underwater lovers, and also he runs the Geographical magazine, which is the official publication of the Royal Geographic Society. So hopefully we'll be entertaining them with some of our stories over this week. And so it really is this East meets West collaboration, and everyone who's going to be clicking and all going to be really, really keen to hear how we're going to tackle this big problem. It's a shared problem. It's one ocean, one bit of plastic, and we use plastic every single day. And I think the most exciting thing is that we now have an opportunity, because there are new technologies out there, which means that we can bring real tangible value to plastic. And that's been the big problem, because all the plastics we use, plastic straws, and all these consumables that we don't really think about, we just use them, we've gone into a bad habit, and essentially we throw them away. But in the words of Sir David and Joe, where is away? No one thinks where away is. And so because it doesn't have any value, it hasn't had any value, it hasn't mattered. But now, because of this new technology, we can bring real tangible value to plastic. And so that's what's going to start happening, starting off here in Malaysia. And this really is Malaysia's opportunity. The start of this Malaysia Plastic Pact is an amazing opportunity, because Malaysia will lead the way in the region, in ASEAN, and it will move very, very quickly, because all of a sudden plastic actually has value. And so I think for me, the most exciting thing is being able to pass the ball down to the younger generation, Jack and Archie and all of you young viewers. The opportunity is yours. Plastic really will become a commodity that can be celebrated. We will spend the next decade working out how to replace it. But meanwhile, the plastic that we put into landfill is out in the ocean does actually have value. So what we can do is we can create alternative livelihood programs, and for people out in the islands who wake up in the morning, they've got 7 or 8 mouths to feed, they don't have a refrigerator to go to, they don't know how they're going to feed their kids, they can soon will be able to go and collect plastic and we'll get paid for it. It will be worth something. And so it'll be another source of food, another thought of breakfast. And that's really exciting. So I think it's beginning of a new era. 2020 has become an incredibly historic year, quite a dark year, quite a bleak year, but I see a real opportunity and hope. And I think if we can hopefully focus people's minds on the ocean and the biodiversity, which is so important to us, it's the air we breathe and the water we drink, and the biodiversity of Malaysia and the Coral Triangle is really the choice, the options we have for the future. We've got a very exciting year ahead, and it will hopefully kickstart into Ocean Decade, which starts next year, the UNESCO's Decade for the Oceans. So I see 2020 as very, very much being a sort of a pivotal, almost transformational year for Malaysia to lead the charge and the rest of the region to follow. And I think we're going to see some really, really exciting movement very soon. That's all for me. Dave, back to you.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you very much. Really interesting background there, and some colourful characters that have helped put this together. You mentioned the young generation a few times. That's a good link to back to Alison and to Jack, sorry, not to Jack, to Archie, to talk about the Plastic Detective STEM activity sheet, which is finding its way to various Malaysian schools this week. Alison, over to you.
Thank you, Dave. So Plastic Oceans UK and Joe Ruxton, they're very focused on trying to share the story and make children aware of the issues of plastic pollution and how plastic is actually damaging the oceans. Their website has a wealth of educational materials, but the problem was that they're designed for in school. And at the moment we have children across the world who are being homeschooled. Hopefully soon children will be able to go back to school, and the UK has started that. But in the meantime, for World Oceans Day, we got together with Joe Ruxton's team to create a new activity sheet, STEM activity sheet designed for homeschooling. So it's called Plastic Detectives, and it's about trying to make children think about how we are using plastic and actually start to record the use of plastic over a week. So we're fortunate here in Malaysia that we actually do have a recycling collection once a week on a Saturday. And I think that's where the idea came from, because when I started to look, and Archie started to look at how much plastic we were putting out on that Saturday morning, and then we walked down the road and saw how much plastic was being put out outside every other house. And at least it is being collected for recycling, not just thrown in straight into landfill. But it did make me think that it would be really interesting to find out and to have the children look at their plastic usage in their homes and start to record this and get more information and make children think about their plastic usage. So Archie, do you want to talk a bit about what you think about this STEM activity sheet?
So I helped my mom by.
So last Sunday, because this is all being brought together in record time, before Archie was allowed to have his breakfast, he had to come up with at least 20 types of plastic that were in our house that we were throwing away each week.
Yes.
So we thought about what was in the kitchen, didn't we?
Yes.
What sort of plastic do we find in the kitchen?
Oil bottles. You can find plastic water bottles and plastic bags, plastic containers, and plastic bowls.
So children are encouraged to record their plastic, take photographs of the plastic after 1 week, so we can start to see visually how much plastic's being thrown away. They're encouraged to do their own bar charts and put together different ways of recording it in terms of measuring it, weighing it, and then to go onto the online survey to actually say how many plastic bottles, how many shampoo bottles, etc. So we can then start to calculate that as a total and start to use these figures, which would prove to be really powerful market research. And thanks to lots of really helpful people, we've had this translated into Bahasa Malaysia, Mandarin, Tamil, and Khmer. So this campaign that's originated in Malaysia has actually gone across the whole of Southeast Asia and Australasia and the Pacific Islands. So we've got high commissions and embassies who are also supporting this campaign. So please encourage your children to take up the Plastic Detectives Challenge, because I think it's that sort of interactive activity that's really going to help the children to understand the issues around plastic. And also, as a mum that's currently supervising homeschooling, there's always good to have another way to occupy your children. I know the schools are trying to do their best, and Archie's now having online lessons. But while they're stuck at home and it's difficult for them to go out, it's good to have another way to occupy their time and to learn at the same time. So alongside the Plastic Detectives Challenge, we also have Joe Ruxton's 3 films called Our Ocean, What is Plastic, and Plastic Pollution. And Archie has watched those films.
All of them.
All of them. And what did you think after you watched them, Archie?
The first thing I said after I watched all of them is I told Mommy, why do you drink sparkling water? It's in plastic bottles.
I know. So I'm learning as well. I think that's the point. We all need to learn and we all need to make changes to our behaviour and maybe sacrifice and give up some things that we've taken for granted.
Yeah.
What else did you learn about the films?
Well, I learned how the ocean is in danger and that the plastic that we're using is killing it. So.
And what else is important about the ocean? The 2 breaths.
Oh, and every second breath you take comes from the ocean.
And that's something I didn't know until I met Joe Ruxton. I always thought that it was our rainforest, but the ocean is providing half our oxygen. So we need to be protecting our oceans. It's covering over 70% of the planet. And as Joe and Sir David Attenborough and Dr. Sylvia Earle say, when we throw away plastic, there is no away. There is a cost. And I think that's the biggest issue. We need to recognize that at the moment our planet is paying that cost of our need for convenience.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Alison. Thank you, Archie. Great work, Archie. I can see that you're an excellent plastic detective. And I would encourage all the school children all over Malaysia and Southeast Asia, everyone who's listening to this and taking part in the campaign, to have a go at that fantastic initiative. And from one person in the future generation to another, I'm going to pass over to Jack now to hear about how he's been supporting his dad's work.
Hello everybody, I am Jack Christopher. I live in Kota Kinabalu, Malaysia, and one day my father told me about the New Hope campaign and I was just thrilled. I mean, it's great. It's really good. I believe in this and I've supported him from the moment he told me about it.
Yeah, always there.
We need to keep on doing this. We have to spread our message. We have to spread this around the world, worldwide, globally, so that people won't just stand and talk about it, but will take action. That's what matters. Actions speak louder than words. So once we do that, we've got something going. And I mean, right now, we're taking action. And that's what's important right now. So, and now I'm gonna say something about my father. My father is a conservationist and he's always on the job. He works hard. He's just always working. But one of my best memories was when I went diving in Sipadan with my father.
How old were you?
I was 9.
9 years old. Yeah.
So at that moment when I saw this diverse biodiversity, I mean, it was just...
What do we see?
It was amazing. It blew my mind. I was just absolutely amazed. from that moment onwards, I just looked at everything differently. I made different decisions regarding our oceans, plastics, and
What do we see? You remember what we saw?
we saw white-tip reef sharks,
That's right. Yeah.
turtles.
Turtles. Yeah. Yeah. Few fish.
Yeah,
What was your favorite fish? You saw jackfish.
yeah, jackfish.
Guess what? Jack saw the jackfish. Yeah.
So basically, I think that what's going on is just absolutely great.
Hmm.
It has to continue.
Yeah.
We can't just stop here. We've come too far.
We've come too far.
Okay, thank you.
One more thing. Yeah.
In my opinion, my generation, it's in a way, it's like a straight line. We keep doing what we do until we hit a bump. And when we do that, we do and look at things differently. So I think I'll end there.
What's the bump? What's the bump?
That bump is crucial regarding the knowledge of biodiversity in our world and the environment.
Mm.
So basically, hitting a bump can always be a good thing.
Cool. Thanks, Jack.
Thanks, Jack. Some really important messages there. Well done.
Yeah.
I
And
think
sorry, go on, Alison.
I was just going to add to say that Jack's been really fortunate that he's been able to go diving and to see that biodiversity with his own eyes. Archie's had the opportunity to do snorkeling in Saba,
I
and
saw parrotfish.
you saw parrotfish,
That's my favorite fish.
and you saw the clownfish.
Yes, and sea urchins. I hate those things.
So hopefully when restrictions are lifted, Archie wants to go diving. He's a strong swimmer, and he's really fortunate living in Malaysia that he has that opportunity to see that biodiversity. But I think a lot of people don't get to see the biodiversity in the oceans. And that's why it's so important that programs like Blue Planet and Blue Planet 2, and there's a wealth of programs to show that biodiversity. And the other thing that kind of blown me away with this campaign is the amount of support we've had. So Plastic Oceans UK have donated their education resources to the Blue Hope campaign. But we've also got all these underwater divers and photographers and filmmakers that have freely given their photographs and their video footage to put onto the Blue Hope campaign as resources. So I also encourage teachers and parents to use those resources to share with their children, because I think when you actually can see that biodiversity and then alongside it see how it's being damaged by our bad plastic habit, maybe that also will help people think about changing their behaviours.
Absolutely. Simon, you're going to tell us a bit about what's coming up this week.
Sure. It's a full action-packed week. We have today, which is obviously World Ocean Day. It's a celebration of the oceans. Oceans being approximately 70% of the planet, so it's actually a blue planet. Because we live on land, anyone interested in conservation is called a greenie or a green conservator. But in fact, in the words of Sylvia Earle, who hopefully you might be hearing from later, we have to, tomorrow needs to be, the blue needs to be the future. Blue is tomorrow's green, basically. And so that's what this campaign is all about. So today we have the official launch of Blue Hope, which obviously is a very historic day. And we have a number of key people joining us for that. So we have Minister, Honourable Minister Lord Jack Zach Goldsmith, and we have a message from him which outlines some really important news, new policies which have come in as we come out of COVID. It's very exciting to see that the British, the government, and also British industry are all saying we need to be green. We need to come out of this greener and bluer with our policies and how we move. And of course, industry is really going to be one of the key things that changes things. But it's people as well, and it's kids. So this really is a youth movement. So he'll be talking to us. We have, of course, the founder of Plastic Oceans, Jo Ruxton, who's an absolute pioneer. She's been talking about this for approximately 10 years, and she really has been walking the walk and talking the talk. She's amazing. And I think the incredible thing about Jo and Plastic Oceans is this the value of the education resource that we're delivering with Blue Hope is what's so important, because that's what's going to create this new type of plastic intelligence. We're basically translating this into all the different languages in the Coral Triangle and ASEAN, and it's just going to grow. It's going to really spread very quickly, and I think that's the most exciting thing. That has real value, because we can listen to the kids. You know, they're not going to listen to me or Dave or Alison. It's actually, you know, we're so set in our ways. So it's actually when Archie or Jack or little Johnny or Ahmed comes into the house and said, "Daddy, stop using plastic," you know, as a kid, you're allowed to pester your parents every single day. Whereas if it was me, if I was pesting everyone, I'd quite quickly get a hit around the head. So it's all down to the kids. It really is to create this movement. So there's many different things that need to happen, but that is the kickstart today. Very exciting. So World Ocean Day is a sort of the natural launch. We're hopefully going to be hearing from the absolute pioneer of the ocean, an amazing woman called Dr. Sylvia Earle. She's known in the ocean world and natural world as her Royal Deepness, because she's been to places on the planet than no one else, not her Royal Highness, but her Royal Deepness. And she really is an amazing lady. Hopefully we'll hear from her, and that will kickstart our whole week ahead. Next, tomorrow we have Coral Triangle Day, which is almost even more important, because and that is really what Blue Hope is all about, is championing biodiversity, and the Coral Triangle is really the crown jewels. You have 3 to 4% of the world's surface area, about the size of the States, and there's more biodiversity in that 3 or 4% than marine biodiversity in the rest of the planet combined, and that's an incredible fact. And with that biodiversity comes choice, it comes options. That is where we get all the evolutionary biodiversity. It's where the tuna starts, and you have such an incredible mixture for the whole region to thrive on. So tomorrow we have a lot of speakers talking about the importance of biodiversity, talking about the importance of the Coral Triangle. That's in the morning, and then we have various speakers talking about how we're going to protect it. So we have talks from an organization called Zoo Blue, who are very passionate, and they provide true ecotourism. So they send divers and snorkelers around the world to locations, particularly in the Coral Triangle, but it's all about putting money back into the local communities. So the problem, one of the biggest problems we have in the ocean is that biodiversity is obviously the key driver, but the communities within that biodiversity, quite often they cannot feed themselves, and so that puts pressure on the biodiversity. So the only way to protect that biodiversity is to make it worth more to the local stakeholders, alive than dead. And at the moment, unfortunately, man has to eat, and so unfortunately the biodiversity takes a hit. So the only way to reverse that in these pockets of biodiversity, like the Coral Triangle, is to bring value. So the tourists and the experiences that are being shared need to be shared throughout the whole community. And until that happens, I'm afraid we have a real problem. There's a real inequality there. So Blue Hope is really an equalizer for the region, where hopefully we can start to equalize, and until everyone can put food on the table, I think that's the big struggle. So that's Coral Triangle Day. On the third day, we have Plastic Pollution Solutions Day. That's very inspirational because that is a key to the future. We have some amazing speakers. We have one of the key partners of the project is a company called Mura Technology, who are bringing the first ever solution tackling plastics. And it's this new technology uses water, supercritical water rather than fire. And essentially that is what's going to bring real tangible value to plastic, but on a much larger scale. So that can be rolled out to communities out in the Coral Triangle and further afield. We also have, I'm not looking at my schedule, but we have some very key other speakers. We have the British government in the form of DEFRA are joining us. So we have the Department of Environment and Rural Affairs and Forestry. So they're very much supportive. A large driver, key driver to this campaign, and that will roll into the Commonwealth Clean Oceans Alliance, COCOA, which is a huge organization, 54 countries of the Commonwealth. And we have a lot of key speakers from COCOA talking about the importance of this campaign and the importance of biodiversity and how it's going to be relevant to the small island communities, where again it's all about putting food on the table but doing it in a sustainable way. So that's on the third day. And then on the fourth day we have a youth movement. So it's all about, we have universities and we have kids and universities from Beijing all talking and sharing and caring about the environment. So that's a really important day, that fourth day. And then on the fifth day, again, we bring it back to the ocean lovers, the scuba divers and the snorkelers, and it's really celebrating the oceans. So we have, I'd say, between 30 to 40 webinars, certainly around about 30, together with the ADEX platform, and they have a lot of different speakers as well. And we're going to have lots of videos for those of you who haven't seen the ocean or haven't been underwater. We have a VR video where you can essentially go for a dive on Sipalan without getting wet, and that's very exciting. So you can actually see the sharks and the turtles, because seeing is believing. And so VR is an amazing new technology where you can actually get up close and personal with what's under the water. So exciting week ahead, and looking forward to sharing it with everyone. Enjoy. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Thank you, Simon. Yes, lots there, pleased for everyone to get stuck into and to fill your week. Well, we've got quite a few questions coming in. I think the first one I'll go back to Dr. Nagu on, which is about, can you tell us a bit more about the ways the Malaysian government is supporting the reduction of plastic by limiting the number of plastic produced in Malaysia?
Right. Thank you, Dave, and thanks for the question. And before I answer, just like to say I'm very inspired by Archie and Jack. Thank you. I mean, I think one point that resonates from what they said is experiential learning. So like Jack had the ability to dive, but thank you for technology. We have all this VR augmented reality where seeing and looking at it can really change behavior. So thank you for sharing that, because I think that's a very powerful message. And on the question on what the government of Malaysia is doing to reduce plastic, I mean, as I said on the onset, plastic itself is a fantastic material. We are not demonizing it. So what we want to do is we want to reduce the mismanagement of those plastics. That's very important. And that's why the Plastic Pact talks about extended producer responsibility, talks about circularizing the economy of plastic. We want to see, as what Simon said, a whole new plastic economy where plastic out there in nature has got value. It can be recycled, it can be used to many other things. So that's the most important thing. But of course, in the 2019 budget that the government announced, we did give incentive for people who are moving away from hydrocarbon-based plastics to more environmentally friendly alternatives, if there's any. Because that's a challenge, I mean, producing alternatives to plastic, it must do what we want it to do, to degrade in the environment. And that is something that the technology has to catch up with. So short answer to that question is, it's us, how we manage these plastics by not putting it out in the environment. So that's why this whole think about secularizing the economy and all that is very, very important. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you. And I think perhaps a question for you or any of our panelists is what other exciting projects are out there in the pipeline that can help amplify youth voices?
Well, shall I answer that, Alison? I think there's just so many things because you know, there are so many amazing people working out in the field already. So we're here from we're voices from Sabah. We're based in Kota Kinabalu. Sabah is the bastion of biodiversity in Malaysia. It really is on the Coral Triangle itself. And so here we are in Kota Kinabalu. You can jump in a car and essentially go to out to an island within 5-10 minutes drive by boat, and you can still swim with a turtle, a black-tip reef shark, and sometimes of the year you can swim with whale sharks. And you pop up, if you go diving, you pop up and there's Mount Kinabalu and there's Hong Kong Bank, and you see that. Now that's the only capital city in Asia where you can do that. And then if you want, you can jump on a plane, you can go and see a pygmy elephant, you can go and see orangutan. So it really is, this is really the wealth and the opportunity that Sabah has and that Malaysia has. And I think that what we have is amazing groups of people here, youth, who can engage with this and to share it and enjoy it and work out how we're going to protect it. And I think that's the really exciting thing. But going back to the plastic detectives, we've got a series of different rollouts, and the really exciting thing is that we have a Malaysian talent, some of you may know, called Maya Karin, and she has been very keen to talk about plastic for a long time. She's sort of the Malaysian version of Joe Ruxton. She's very strong on the environment, and she's supporting us by doing the Malay version of the videos you see online. So within the next 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to be launching a whole Malay version together with Sir David's amazing words. And so that will kickstart a whole movement here in Malaysia. And then later on, we want to do, we're also doing it in Mandarin and all the different languages in the Coral Triangle. So this is the tidal wave that we're creating, but it starts here in Malaysia. And that's
just to say that the plastic detectors, the Ministry of Education in Malaysia have been hugely supportive, and they're sending out the plastic detectives to all the primary and secondary schools in Malaysia to encourage all the Malaysian children to take the World Oceans Day Challenge. And if they don't manage it this week, they can always do it next week or the week after. It's all about learning and understanding and becoming plastic intelligent.
The 10,000 schools, did you say, Alison? Did I hear that number?
10,000 schools.
That's a lot of schools, a lot of children. Very exciting, very exciting.
That's great, fantastic. Well, I'm conscious that I think our time is up. So thank you to all my co-panelists for giving up your time today and delivering all those very important messages. Thank you for ADEX Pixel for hosting us. And I hope everyone who's listening has a great week and engages with the whole series of webinars that we've talked about today. Please go and check out that website, www.bluehope.org, to get all the information you need to watch further. Thank you all.
Take care. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
See you. Bye-bye. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you. Bye,
Thank
Archie.
Bye all.